From the colonial era under British rule to waves of migration from across Southeast Asia to today's intake of foreign talent and labor, Singapore, an island city-state of just 5.7 million people, has seen its fair share of immigration over the decades. But as with any long relationship, things can get, well, complicated. According to Statista Research Department, there were about 2.5 million immigrants in Singapore in 2020, accounting for 43.1% of the entire population. The government's stance has evolved from previously encouraging immigration to supplement the labor force and counter low birth rates to recently tightening policies amidst social pressures. Today, the immigration issue in Singapore undeniably brings both benefits and challenges that need to be carefully managed. Let's look at some of the key factors surrounding this complex issue. Before starting the chapters of this video, what are your thoughts on the case of immigration on this little red dot? Let us know with some facts. In the 19th century, when modern Singapore was founded, Singapore was a veritable siren call to merchants and immigrants from across Asia who were lured by its free trade policies and strategic location. Check out our previous video on this channel, The Dark Side of Singapore, for more details on Singapore's humble beginnings. For a long stretch after its founding, immigrants formed the overwhelming majority of Singapore's population. The city was teeming with these hungry go-getters looking to turn confusion into capital. As the decades rolled on, the local population finally overtook new arrivals in the 1930s. But immigration's undeniable impact had already been baked into Singapore's cultural DNA. Fast forward to 1965, when the nation separated from Malaysia. In asserting this new sovereign identity, Singapore promptly tailored its immigration laws, creating some temporary traffic control, pun intended, on incoming workers. But then Singapore's industries started revving up in the late 20th century, and suddenly there was a severe labor shortage. So restrictions had to be loosened up to allow in more immigrants to help power that economic thrust. And so began Singapore's second major wave of new arrivals. Workers poured in from all over, eager to play their part in this tiny nation's stunning growth story. You could hardly take 2 steps without tripping over an industrious newcomer determined to make their mark. Of course, such breakneck expansion couldn't last forever. On the money front, let's be clear. Singapore has profited massively by welcoming foreign workers and talent over the decades. The influx of brilliant minds from across Southeast Asia and beyond has turbocharged Singapore's development into an innovation and entrepreneurial powerhouse punching way above its weight. Could Singapore's tiny team of local software engineers have built up successful companies like Grab on their own? Could Singapore's construction companies rapidly expand housing and infrastructure relying solely on local labor? I think not. Even the service industry, including restaurants, hotels, and shops, also benefits from the diversity and hard work of foreign staff. Their contribution helps maintain the high standards of service Singapore is known for. So yes, Singapore Inc. has benefited greatly from embracing immigrant employees and entrepreneurs. However, there are understandable frustrations and sentiments among some Singaporeans that the government spends too much on helping immigrants. From 2000 to 2014, the immigrant population in Singapore doubled from 1 million to 2 million. That's a heck of an increase to absorb in just over a decade for our little red dot. Unsurprisingly, this huge influx led to some growing pains and frustrations for locals. Suddenly, it felt like everywhere you went, the MRT, buses, hawker centers, shopping malls, was overwhelmingly crowded. Housing prices started climbing way faster than most Singaporeans' incomes, and the strains on infrastructure were very real. So, it's understandable that some folks started questioning the government's fairly liberal immigration policies and wondering if things were getting too out of hand. The 2011 general election became a pressure valve to vent some of these simmering frustrations about overcrowding, competition for jobs and resources, and whether Singapore was losing its identity amidst the rapid changes. You also had the rise of social media amplifying some, let's say, unsavory xenophobic sentiments towards foreigners during this period. Suddenly, every transport delay or rude incident was being blamed on the immigrant boogeyman by the less savory characters online. The local media, like the Straits Times, was a real-time record of this soaring public mood towards immigration from 2006 to 2011. If you analyze the coverage and statements from politicians back then, you can clearly see them scrambling to get ahead of the growing backlash. Their rhetoric started shifting from promoting liberal immigration as an engine of growth to acknowledging problems with overcrowding and assimilation. One of the biggest concerns around immigration voiced by many Singaporeans is the issue of wage stagnation and increased competition for jobs, especially in lower-skilled fields. By providing a large pool of foreign workers willing to accept lower pay, some argue that this has depressed wage growth and disadvantaged local workers. There's also angst that foreign professionals in fields like tech and finance are edging out local graduates for coveted, well-paying jobs. The National University of Singapore conducted research in 2020, revealing that approximately 40% of employment pass holders were professionals, managers, executives, and technicians, or PMETs. Presently, residential areas with high immigrant populations have seen periodic tensions flare over issues like drunken brawls, cleanliness of shared facilities, cultural misunderstandings of norms around social behavior, and anxieties about the dilution of national identity. No matter how meticulously Singapore's legendarily pragmatic government plans for increases, it's tough to perfectly match supply with demand. Locals get irked if they feel newcomers are squeezing them out of the already limited resources, public goods, and housing stock. And it's not like the birth rate in Singapore is anything to write home about. Many express fears over foreigners displacing local culture and customs. While maintaining an open society, Singapore also has legitimate security considerations around vetting immigrants thoroughly to filter potential risks like terrorism, extremism, or criminality. Immigrant worker dormitories with lax oversight have also been major outbreaks of unrest, like the Little India riot in 2013. Such incidents spark public concerns over safety and unregulated immigration policies enabling foreign criminal elements. If you combine most of these elements, it's no wonder some Singaporeans want immigrants out. In 2022, the Singaporean government rolled out a new points-based immigration system to welcome skilled workers with open arms once more. While immigration provides economic benefits, there are real downsides Singapore has grappled with around strains on jobs, housing, infrastructure, and social cohesion, as well as security risks that require vigilance. Measurable, sustainable immigration rates can benefit Singapore if coupled with judicious planning and policies for assimilation. Priority could be given to attracting higher-skilled foreign talent over lower-wage labor. It wouldn't be easy, but by channeling the island's trademark can-do spirit, Singapore can harmonize its diversity towards greater prosperity. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and comment for more thought-provoking content.